Hello and welcome, Journal Goddesses. This is Dion, the Tea Priestess Ruff Sloan. And as you know, I like to use creativity, spirituality, and productivity to help you live your best life. And today I have a woman who continually shows up in her vulnerability, but also in her strength, using her creative gifts in service to supporting herself and also sharing with people how they can support themselves through their own creativity as well. I am super excited to introduce you, if you don't already know, to the fabulous Effy Wild. Effy, thank you so much for being with me today. I deeply
Jazz
appreciate
hands!
you. I know, right? So exciting, so exciting. So I think I actually came across your work years and years ago, and I want to say maybe when during the time where Leonie Dawson was kind of circling up with her goddess group, and this was like early, probably I don't know, maybe 2011, I want to say, maybe even earlier than that.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. So take me through a little bit of your process about how you started to show up online and use your creativity to teach others to use their creativity. I'm guessing that, like many creatives, creativity had kind of always been part of your spiritual toolkit.
Yes, but not in this form. So
Mm,
I started as a writer, and I was a writer pretty much from the moment they put one of those big chubby blue pencils in my hand.
mm,
Um, Writing poetry and creative nonfiction was very much a part of my life for my entire life. The moment I learned about the internet, erected a poetry board online as soon as I got the internet, and was very active in creative nonfiction and poetry online for many, many years. Also did some podcasting
mm,
uh, of spirituality, especially non-traditional or pagan spiritualities. But I got writer's block very badly in 2007, 2008. There was a lot of chaos going on in my family. It was stuff I couldn't write about, so I felt very blocked, and discretion was required, and I'm not really good at that.
mm.
So I stopped writing almost altogether and realized that if I didn't find some way to express what was happening for me in my life, I would wither up. Like I just felt like a lack of life force, really.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in some spiritual traditions, we call this life force mana.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like, if you're in World of Warcraft and you're like a healer or a magician of any kind, you've got this little bar that indicates how much energy you have for magic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was empty. I was completely empty, had none of that left. So I went looking for ways to express myself that didn't include writing as openly and honestly as I was accustomed to. And I discovered art journaling.
Mm.
I actually set up a whole new identity online to explore this because it was so tender and so new. So I didn't use the name that I wrote under. I didn't use the name that I podcasted under. I came up with the name Effy Wild. So Effy Wild is a nom de plume, or a
Mm-hmm.
nom, I guess. And as soon as I started sharing what I was doing in the arena of visual journaling or art journaling, people started to ask me, can you teach me?
Mm.
And that came as a complete surprise to me because I'm not an artist. I am now, but I wasn't an artist.
Mm.
I was just a beginner. I was green as grass. I didn't know what I was doing in terms of the mediums. But what I had hooked into was a way of creating a practice with whatever form of creativity I engaged in, writing, singing, cooking, dancing, and practice was such a part of what I was sharing that's what people wanted. They didn't care that I couldn't create beautiful things like other artists in the market. What they cared about was the way that I was using it, the specific way that I was using it.
Mm.
So I used it in a very spiritual way. I used it as a way to meet myself on the page, to connect with the divine as I understood it. My very first class was a class in using the elements in your art journal:
Mm.
earth, air, water, fire, and spirit. Associating the elements with different mediums, with different techniques, and also different arenas of self-inquiry and exploration. And that just launched me from that moment on. Sought after by people running collaboratives who wanted me to come and teach on their courses. I really owe Connie Solera and Tamara Laporte a huge debt of gratitude because they exposed me to this massive world of art journaling by inviting me to teach on their courses. And the rest, as they say, is history. And I've been teaching art journaling combined with spirituality of some kind ever since.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And one of the things that you just said really stuck with me is that you had to find another way to express yourself because you felt like your mana bar, your energy bar, your spiritual energy was completely depleted. And I think that is really important to notice because I know for myself that has been a place where I have not always been this kind to myself because I've always been a creative and trying different things as well. But how have you transformed that place of I'm completely empty and intersected it with I'm completely empty and I'm willing to be kind to myself in trying something new? Because I think that's important because I don't think people give themselves permission to be green as grass. It's like they want to immediately start something and be perfect at it. And I think that's part of our cultural training, at least in North America. How were you able to kind of bridge that?
I think a part of it is my innate nature. I am pretty much a polymath. I have rich, diverse arenas of interest. I really throw myself with gusto into whatever I'm interested in. I did not slog through formal forms of education. In fact, I dropped out of school very early. So I've learned to be very desire-led. So whatever is floating my boat, I feel really free in pursuing that, and exploring it. But I also come from an enormous amount of trauma and childhood abuse, and also spousal abuse. And so I've always worked with a therapist of one stripe or the other. I've done a lot of group therapy and one-to-one therapy. And the emphasis in my personal work with that has been self-love. I came to therapy with an enormous self-love deficit. I couldn't even feed myself breakfast, right? First question upon waking up in the morning was, how spectacularly shall I fail today? I had to really learn how to turn on. Wow, that was frightening. I had to learn to really turn on a very loving, almost grandmotherly voice with myself with regards to anything that I needed or wanted. So I had to purposefully reframe every response I had to my own desire. So I would desire a thing like, I really want to get into whatever, beading or knitting or whatever. Really, the voices would start, you're not worthy, you don't deserve that, that costs too much money, you don't have time, who do you think you are, right? Those voices would start like instantly. So I had to approach them from almost a grandmotherly place of joy is your birthright, creativity is life-giving, juices. When we take care of ourselves, we can better take care of others. Eventually, that transformed into, it didn't have to be that taking care of myself was service to others. That stopped eventually. Taking care of myself is enough. I can just take care of myself, and I'm enough for that. It doesn't have to translate to how well I take care of others. It just so happens that my personality style is such that if I find something that's working for me, I gotta share it. I have no choice. It's like an instant transformation happens for me where if I master something or if I learn something that's especially effective, the next immediate thought is, how do I get this out there so that other people can enjoy it and benefit from it?
Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And I think that it's really a testament to creativity being our birthright, that the creativity kind of came from this place of, okay, if I do this, then it's of service to others. And then eventually it became, if I do this, then it's of service to myself, and that's
Yes.
enough. And I
Yes.
think a lot of us struggle with that not enoughness like
Yes.
crazy. And that's not to say that, you know, you ever stop feeling that, because do you find that you're not in the place where you haven't yet found that place where I woke up today and I feel enough? It's always like a little something.
Yeah, and there are areas in which I've completely slayed the enoughness demon, right?
Mm, mm-hmm,
It
mm,
has been banished into the outer darkness with the Lord of Dread. It's out there. I don't have to contend with it in the arena of creativity.
mm,
Art supplies, I have no guilt about art supplies because it's what I use to make my living. Um, Cooking beautiful food for myself is also an
mm,
area where I have zero guilt. But there are areas where there is a sense of not enoughness. I still struggle with not being where I'd like to be skills wise
mm, mm,
as an artist. I'm a fantastic teacher. I have no doubt about that. I have testimonials out the wazoo attesting to that fact. I know that I relay the information in a way that people find useful. So there is no not enoughness there. But there is not enoughness in, I can't do hands to save my life unless I work really, really hard at it, right?
mm,
So it's the quality of the art where I struggle. But I still consider myself an artist in training perhaps, but still an artist. I mean, I art every day, literally every day. So
mm,
that
mm.
makes me an artist.
Yeah, yeah.
I also have some not around interpersonal relationships where I can
Mm,
feel back in the day, you know, in high school or in elementary school, when we're all sort of comparing ourselves to other people and wondering if we measure up. That can still happen for me, but less and less so these.
yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And there is quite a beautifully diverse community that has built up. And I love that you call them the Wildhood. I'm honored to be part of the Wildhood in some small space. And you're one of the lists of people that I look for online. If I haven't seen your posts on Facebook, then um, I go specifically to your page to see what you've
Oh,
posted,
that makes
because
me
I
happy.
feel like you share from a place of, you like I said in as I was introducing you, you share from this place of vulnerability in, this is what's going on in my life today, but not from a place of feel bad for me. Do you
Right.
know what I mean?
Yes, I
You're
do.
just sharing because it's part of your creative process, and I think that authenticity is actually what builds people up around you. Do you find that that has been the case for you, that you've just wanted to share from this place of authenticity so that others can, so for yourself obviously, but also so that others can know that, yeah, this is part of the creative process and it's messy and sometimes it's not that cute and not Instagram worthy or Facebook worthy.
Right. Right. I'm very, very fond of the realm of the real.
Mm,
I have very little use for perfectly curated or whitewashed existences. I find them actually disempowering
mm,
because none of us have that. That is not reality. And we can compare our, um, raw footage with other people's perfectly edited lives and feel really uncomfortable and disempowered. And in fact, there have been some studies done that a lot of social media was actually created to make us feel that way because it keeps us hooked in.
mm,
Um, I have a mission on social media to present a very honest picture of what the life of one woman actually looks like, with the dog, the poop patrol and the parenting difficulties and the difficulties in relationships and the recovery from trauma and CPTSD, which I have. Um, I also have permission from my children to share very honestly as well. I, of course, have their permission for that. So they're all adults, but I am able to share quite a bit about my journey with them as well. And the reason that that is so important to me is because I feel like we are so easily sucked into a shame-based existence where everything we encounter online makes us feel ashamed. And I want to be a place where people come and they feel relieved of shame, unburdened, right? Where they can put
mm,
shame down altogether.
mm,
Well, Effy can admit to this, and this. Effy struggles with this, and this. And I feel like that's really shame busting. I'm also really invested in ourselves as a collective working with shadow. And shadow are those parts that we have rejected. And some of those parts are parts we've rejected because we find them unacceptable. But some of those parts are parts which we've rejected because they make us a target. So a lot of our brilliance and strength is hidden in shadow. So shadow work, which is a huge part of what I do, both in therapy and in my art journal, has to do with excavating the true self from underneath the layers of what society would have me be, you know, what my parents expected of me, what the magazines tell me I should be. I just want to be as authentically myself as humanly possible. I think that the important thing to note here is that numerologically, I'm a 9. So I am the living embodiment of the tarot card, the Hermit. I am holding the light up to my own path. And that was my intention from the beginning, was I am lighting my own path. But my light spills over and it lights up the path of others. Completely unintentionally at first. Did not recognize that that would be a result. But as a result of my willingness to illuminate my own path, do my own work, meet myself on the page, encounter myself through therapy, other people then feel safe, community with me, and do the same. And that's very powerful. So what I model is what is known as a handmade life. I do the work, I show up, my life is made by me, for me. It's not funded by a partner. It's not created for somebody else's comfort or pleasure. I do not exist for anyone's gaze. I live for myself, by myself, and I model that for other people completely unintentionally. The fact that it's effective, the fact that people find it useful, that I've seen people actually make life-changing based on what they've learned either in my classes or just from interacting with me. It is my honor that that is the result, but it's not my mission, right? That my mission is not for other people. My mission is I want to end my life knowing that I am myself as much as humanly possible, that I am exactly who I was designed to be. And if that benefits others, that benefits others, that is a great honor to me.
And I think that's a beautiful legacy to aspire to, just to live the fullness of your own life and explore all the nooks and crannies that make you up. You know, I think the whole and that's a lot of the work that as a priestess I do as well, in reclaiming the power to create the life that is in alignment with your own best, highest good.
Yes. And that's so important, especially for women. I'm just going to get on my feminist soapbox.
Yes, please do.
Because women are conditioned to exist for the gaze of others, to others. We are not allowed to own our anger. We're not allowed to own our grief even. We don't even own our time, right? Our whole lives are supposed to be lived in a posture of yielding and taking in and transforming for and doing for others and serving others. And we rarely get to just be with ourselves for the sake of enjoying our own company or creating what we want to create. And you even see this now in the realm of mixed media art, where everyone wants to be like their favorite teacher, right? They want to create art that looks like their favorite teacher. And so I am moving into teaching in a way that discourages that. I don't want you making art that looks like mine. I want you accessing your own wisdom, your own symbols, your own color palettes, your own imagery. So I'm starting to teach in a way that really fosters and facilitates that, rather than let's all make the same pretty image. No, man. That's not what we're here for. The world is waiting for the creations that will naturally come forth from us. And those creations initially are not going to live up to our taste or our own standards. We're going to want them to look a certain way. We're not going to be able to. We're not going to have the skills. The only way to get from A to Z is to claim the time. Very feminist issue. You claim that time. That means your partner is looking after the children for a couple of hours while you facilitate your own creativity, while you fill your own well, while you go for a walk in nature with a sketchbook. That means that you delegate more, that you ask for more support, whether that be in terms of childcare or house care or money, because your existence on this planet is for you and for your enjoyment. And the more that you enjoy your existence, the more you model that for your children, both your female and male children, and your non-binary children. You are modeling for your children, your life matters. Your life, not as a service to other people, but how much pleasure did you get out of today? How much joy did you experience? Did you fling paint because it feels so good to you to do that? Or are you doing something for someone else's gaze? And it's a question I ask myself all the time, because it's easy for me to fall back into that trap of, okay, I'm doing this to get accolades. I'm doing this to fit in, right? I want to break out of that. I want to do what is authentically me on the page and let the chips fall where they may. Some people will love it, some people won't. But ultimately, I want to be happy at the end of the day with the way I spent my time, with the energy that I spent on whatever it is I spent it on.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. You brought up a point here about the way that things are shifting on, especially online with the art journaling community. And you've been at this for a little while.
Yes.
What has been the biggest positive shift, I guess, that you've seen? And what has been like, you talked a little bit about how the looking at, like, having your art look like your favorite teacher kind of like is a little bit gritting, you know, but what has been one of the most positive shifts that you've seen?
The desire for deeper dives. And I'm seeing it all over the place. People want to address mental illness. They want to address abuse. They want to address trauma recovery. They want to address addiction. They want to address their sense of disconnection. They want to become connected. They want to take it to a spiritual place. They're willing to shift from just simple life documentation where you're making the pretty image of your perfect life into truly representing your moment, whatever that moment is, on the page in a way that records it and documents it and allows you to work with it in ways that can be very healing. And sometimes that means sometimes that means art that is just a full-on rageful, like Om Sekhmet moment of righteous rage or pain or grief. The thing that happens for us is that we have so much of that suppressed because it is not acceptable to feel or express those things, that we may have to make pretty art for a long time just to get layer by layer down to the true art, what is true for us in the moment, right? So I'm not like anti-copying. In fact, I encourage all of my students to copy. If you're not in a place where you're accessing your own visual language, you don't really know what to do with the mediums, copy. That's what the masters did. The masters handed their students a paintbrush and said, paint the sky this way using these colors. That was an incredibly important part of their apprenticeship, right? That there will come a point when you're going to start getting these nudges. And the nudge will be, I don't want to do it that way. I want to do it this way. And if you attend to that, you'll find that that is your truest self rising up with what you are meant to bring into the world through your creativity. It's very important to make space for that. Sometimes that means get bored. Don't spend all your time doing classes and copying lessons. Let yourself percolate a little bit. Be with yourself a little bit without outside influences. See what arises for you in terms of your own visual language, and you'll find yourself making art that is more true to you. That true to you art is much more impactful and healing, I find. And I'm finding that more and more people are wanting that experience, right? We're starting to get a little bit tired of beautiful flat layouts on Instagram, and the emphasis on product, the emphasis on buying the latest thing, the emphasis on trends, what's trending. And we're starting to recognize the power of art journaling as a tool for healing and for connection and shame busting, and people are really starting to dig into that now. I see more and more and more and more of that, and it's very exciting because that's where I live.
Gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. So Effy, I have one more question for you. What space would you like to see creativity occupy in the 21st century?
Oh, wow. It just breaks my heart the way that it has been shoved to the side. We're losing funding for it. It's not in the schools anymore. What I would love to see is parents taking screen time out and putting creativity in whatever form. One of the things I miss historically is the way that we apprenticed ourselves to our parents. We learned a trade from our parents. And if we could start to think of our children as creative apprentices and bring them into our creativity, that doesn't mean to eliminate all your own solo time. You need that. You must have that. But bring them into your own creative practice, whatever it may be. If you're a writer, bring them in. Teach them writing haiku, read to them, get them writing their own journals. If you're an artist, have them fling paint with you. So make your children apprentices to your own creative passion. And then you're going to find, first of all, that your children have a much more intimate, delicious relationship with you because they'll be there alongside you. And second of all, you will have fostered in them the understanding of how powerful creativity is in making our lives richer, more meaningful, more joyful. We can create happiness this way. It is like the most powerful serotonin booster. I often say that art is like nature's Prozac. Like that act of creation is so full of, it's so energetic, and sometimes I even feel like it's almost related to sexuality in a sense, because it feels so good. It's like such a pleasure. And there's the similar arc, when we start to play with our supplies, it's very tactile and sensual. So I think of like the early stages of an art journal page is like foreplay. And then we like get down to it, and our imagery is starting to come, and our language is starting to arrive, and the words go in there. And it's such a release, very similar to, there's a reason why in the art community, we say things like, I want to lick it, right? I want to lick it. Texture porn. It's not just texture, it's like sexy to look at, right? And sexuality is so energizing, and creativity is similarly so energizing. Just like sex makes life, creativity also makes life.
Definitely.
Right? Yeah, and I have goosebumps.
Yeah. Gorgeous. Gorgeous.
I give myself goosebumps.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous.
Well, I'm like a fan of more sex and more creativity.
Yes.
However you can make that happen for yourself.
However you can make that happen for yourself. Absolutely. Oh my goodness, Effy. So being with you and creating this space today, and just having this conversation has definitely been a serotonin boost for me. And wonderful. I know that it'll be a serotonin boost for anybody who is watching this. Wonderful. So thank you so much for showing up so authentically and so beautifully, and for being with me today. I deeply, deeply, deeply appreciate you and your work and showing up in the world. And I am glad.
I appreciate your work too, and thank you so much for inviting me.
You are welcome. So, Journal Goddesses, I told you that you would love Miss Effy Wild. I have all of her contact information in the description box below, so that if you want to get another serotonin boost from being in her presence, or to be able to really kind of explore some of her wicked cool classes, do make sure you check out those links in the box below. And make sure that you take some time to be creative today. Until next time, I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.